What's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vanity. I'm all about love. I just want to see you win. And we are going to talk about being broke today. The real, raw reality of being broke, being in survival mode, struggling beyond poverty. I'm talking you don't know how you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, where you're going to live, what roof you're going to have over your head, how you're going to pay a bill, etc. Okay. The reason why I want to talk about this is because it is so much easier for the enemy to come seek, kill, and destroy when you are in that vulnerable of a state. When you are already operating out of fear, out of a poverty mindset, out of a lack mindset, out of insecurity. When your circumstances in your life are so bad, you are like truly fighting for your life and you have no confidence in yourself or your life. It takes a toll. It's not easy. And I kind of just want to talk about my experience through that. And I do want to highlight and emphasize how God has carried me through that. And I definitely want this to be encouragement for you if you are in a very similar season or if you are fine for your life and going through it. Because when you're in it, positive words, they don't sound good. They don't feel good. When you're in it, you physically are just not okay. You are in fight or flight mode. You are not at rest, which then creates just such an anxious heart and an anxious mind, and anxiety kills you. Going through seasons like that in life, especially if you're doing it by yourself, especially if you got kids or you have other people who you are responsible to and responsible for, it can lead to such destruction. And you have to be so careful, because if you are not careful, when your life is out of order to that extent, you will either fall into very unhealthy distractions, which typically look like a man or a woman. You will fall into distractions that will just further pull you back, or you will seek comfort. Your body will just try to search for something that's going to make it feel at ease, which again could lead you to people, to a person, to substances, to bad habits. It could lead you right back to whatever sin you were a slave to in the past. When you are operating out of desperation, you do crazy things sometimes. That's why it is so hard to escape poverty. That is why it is so hard to break cycles. I don't know what your circumstance looks like. I don't know how long you've been in that situation, but what I do know with my entire heart and soul is that it is temporary. Even if it feels like you've been in it forever, your whole life, it is temporary. And at some point, you're going to be able to look back and give God all the glory, and you're going to be able to see how everything was still working together for your good. Even if you are turning away from the Lord right now, even if you do not have a relationship, even if your circumstance has pushed you farther away from Him, even if you have lost your faith, even if you've already gotten caught up in the distractions, in the bad habits, in the cycles, at any point you can get back up and fight back, no matter how much defeat you have experienced or feel like you have had. So again, I'm just making this to encourage somebody. Those seasons are hard. They are difficult. They mess up your identity. Last year, I made a video where I was kind of recapping my first year unemployed. And I think the title of it is, watch this if you are unemployed and you're losing faith. This year, my second year in, I experienced a whole new level of poverty and defeat. This year, I experienced a whole new level of struggle. Now, this is not the first time I've struggled in my entire life, but this year was very specific and it was very different and it was extremely scary. And as a mom, the weight is even bigger and it looks even scarier because there is somebody who I'm responsible for. Not knowing how I'm going to consistently eat, not knowing if I'm able to maintain a car or a roof over my head, not being able to afford anything, no upkeep, no maintenance, basic needs. That is scary. And that has been my reality for over a year now. My confidence, my self-esteem, my self-worth, my identity, the enemy sure did come seek, kill, and destroy. And I sure did let him. I was so defeated. It just got to the point where I completely gave up on life, like genuinely. I stopped trying. I stopped praying. I stopped communicating with God. I stopped dreaming. I stopped planning. I stopped everything. I just literally sat in defeat. Now the thing is, it wasn't from a place of self-pity. If you had saw me out or were hanging out with me, you would not think I was going through what I was going through. I wasn't like moping around playing this victim card and just being like, woe is me, like I'm struggling and I'm hungry and I'm this and I'm that. No, I actually kept what I was going through, that struggle, so private. Nobody in my life knew. I just did not want to tell anybody. It wasn't until the point that I was about to get evicted was I like, oh, okay, I should probably let somebody know. But prior to that, I was just distracting myself. I wasn't doing anything with my time at all. I genuinely felt like a zombie, and I was just like, my life is not real. This is not real. Like, I'm not really living like this. And I just avoided it as much as I could. And at first, I ignored every call, every bill. I stopped paying on everything. I basically was just living like I had nothing to pay. That is how separated I was. Like, that is how frozen I was. It wasn't until July, so 7 months in the year, this year, did everything, like I said, finally catch up with me. And I just couldn't fake it anymore. I think I was so tired from the previous year of struggling. I just couldn't do it again. And the thing is, I was trying, but it was as if no door was opening up for me. And what created the separation between God and I was the fact that I was trying and no door was opening. And I was so frustrated and I was so confused and I was so hurt and I was so disappointed. And there was just so much back and forth. There was some days where I would like blame myself and I was just like, okay, I have to be doing, like, the condemnation would just be so real and I'd be so hard on myself and I would be nitpicking myself and saying like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And I would drive myself crazy. There were other days where I would just rebel and I was like, it's not me. I'm doing everything I can. It's you. Why are you not opening any doors for me? Why am I not seeing breakthrough? And then there were some days where I was just didn't think at all. And I was like, man, this economy sucks. Nobody has a job anyway. I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not the only one struggling. I might as well enjoy it. I might as well just pretend my problems don't exist. So it was just hell, to be honest. It was so much inconsistency in my heart, in my mind, and nothing was lining up. And on top of that, because I was already losing my confidence and my self-esteem, I really started to just not like myself. I just, because of the neglect, I just felt so not put together and I felt so neglected and it made me so sad. And then it transitioned into me being depressed. I was so sad. Me, my son, I just felt like a failure as a mom. Like, there were so many levels to this experience. There was shame, there was embarrassment, anger, there was frustration, there was envy. I would go online and I would just get so envious because people were not struggling and I'd be so upset, not because I wanted them to struggle, but I was so tired of struggling. And I would see people as simple as going out to a nice restaurant, buying some new cute clothes, like all these little things that I wanted to do for myself and I couldn't do it. And that is just the most frustrating, disheartening experience to have. And I would just cry and be sad and the cycle would start all over every day. And I was living like this for years. And then this year it just went up 10 notches. And every aspect of my life was just sad. Like, it was just sad. And then it started to affect my dreams and my passions. Obviously, my passion, my calling, my dream, all those things, they all revolve around social media and speaking and just being creative. And none of that mattered. I could not get to the point where I could really find that creative flow again. And then that made me sad because I was like, I don't do anything creative anymore. I don't do anything for myself because I can't afford it. I'm struggling with this guilt and weight of being a mom and feeling like I'm giving my son the worst life ever. I'm questioning my entire existence and my ability. to be able to work and land a job. That in its own, the job, the hiring process, it's humbling. And I've mentioned that before. I talked about that in that video I made last year, but that is humbling. That itself is an emotional roller coaster. And it does, like, it hits your ego so bad. If I didn't have an ego death before this year, it was this year. Ego died completely. Like, it had just gotten to the point where rejection and disappointment, like, it didn't even faze me. I got so numb. And it sucks living like that. It really does. And then boom, that's how the enemy snatches you up. I was getting so negative. My mind, again, was hell. The mental warfare that I would have on the daily was just killing me. Like, I could not be positive to save my life. I tried and I just couldn't. Like, I could not find a productive flow of thoughts that fed me and that spoke life into me. Also, I wasn't picking up my Bible. That says a lot as well. But I just could not catch that flow. And every day I would just be filled with negative thoughts. It would be negative thoughts in regards to me and myself, my life, my circumstances, God. And it was just messing with me, like, truly. And I was just so deprived. I was deprived, I feel like, of so much. So I say that to say I can relate to that experience, the embarrassment and the shame of not being able to take care of yourself or your household or loved ones is hard. I just bring this up to just acknowledge the fact that I do understand and I empathize if, again, you are going through something very similar. Losing yourself is scary. Like, knowing that who you are, who you're showing up as, is not who you are. Does that make sense? There was so many months where I just did not recognize who I was, and it just broke my heart because I was like, this is not me. And it's just, it's hard living like that, man. It really, really is. Now, through this experience, God never left me at all. Girl, dang, God, I'm already getting emotional about that. When God said, I will never leave you or forsake you, I can look back now. I can look back at this experience and I can confirm that to be true. It's so true. Even when you leave him, and even when you don't communicate with him, and even when you stop doing life with him, he truly never leaves, ever. He truly never leaves. And I think one of the most beautiful takeaways that I've gotten from this experience is it's a situation like this where God really proves to you how safe he is and how safe that relationship is. It's like the fact that I was allowed to just give up. The fact that I was allowed to just be defeated. The fact that I was allowed to just be to myself for a second. It deepens my reverence for God. It deepens my reverence for him. And it makes me appreciate our relationship even more. You know those friendships that you have, if you are somebody who tends to disappear a lot or who tends to kind of isolate a lot, you know those people in your life who basically let you do that and like still love on you anyway and welcome you back with open arms and allow you to take your space. They don't try to force you out of it. They don't leave you because of it. They don't make you feel guilty. They don't put a time limit on it. They just let you be. That's an experience I'm so grateful to have and to have had through this journey in these past few years. What's so beautiful is God is just so understanding and he's just ready when you are. And that unconditional love is truly unmatched. Because the thing is I had never got to a point where my heart was hardened. I never stopped being a believer. This hardship and this hard time, as hard as it was, it didn't make me just completely turn away from my faith. So when you are operating in that mindset, there's also a lot of other things that fall off, right? That's why I stopped reading my Bible. I was like, this is not hitting. I would try to read it. It just wasn't hitting the same. I felt like there was this disconnect. And instead of acknowledging that, right, and saying, man, hey, there's a disconnect and I don't want there to be a disconnect, yada, 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 I had given up. I was like, all right. And I'm so appreciative that he let me kind of be defeated, if that makes sense. And that's what I mean by, I can look back and see how his grace and mercy was still very much there. There were so many things that he did, but they were so small. And it was so hard for me to really embrace it. In the sense of, like when you're arguing with somebody and you're mad at them, but they're like, so do you want to go get something to eat? Like, what do you want for dinner? But you're mad at them. You accept the dinner and you're like, all right, thank you. But you're still upset and you feel like the main problem hasn't been addressed. You're appreciative. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll take food. But you still feel like the bigger issue still needs to be resolved. That is also kind of what it felt like. God would do these little things for me. Rather it was free furniture to furnish this apartment. Rather it was a deposit here or there to cover a bill. Rather it was putting somebody in my life to help take care of me, etc. Like, I felt as though he was teasing me. Like, I would get $50 to pay a phone bill. But in my mind, I was like, okay, but where's the $4,000 that I need to catch up on rent? He would give me an opportunity to go hang out with a new friend or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, okay, but where's the funds to be able to afford to go eat or to look presentable? Or, for example, I got a part-time job. I ended up getting a part-time job, which I loved. But I was like, okay, where's my full-time job? Where are my benefits? Like, I need it. I was just caught up in so much frustration and I was so confused because I'm like, see, like, I know you want to take care of me, but there's no way you also want me to struggle this bad. I was just, y'all, the confusion was just so real. It was so real. And on top of that, I recently made a video where I was talking about how I had ended up breaking my abstinence. So I was abstaining and can't even count. Basically like a year and a half I had abstained, and it just got to the point where, again, that's one of the things I did as a distraction. I was so in desperate need of some kind of comfort. Just something to take the edge off. And well, obviously that's not the healthy way to go about it. I finally experienced feelings again and intimacy and kindness and all these things. And it didn't end up working out because of all the self-sabotage that I was personally doing because of the low space that I was in. That's a long story. But again, it's just one of those things where I felt like God was just breadcrumbing me. And it was just messing with my anxiety. It was messing with my head. It was messing with my heart because I just felt like I was being teased and I just couldn't tell. I'm like, is it me? Is it you? What do I need to learn? Like, what's going on? Because I'm already an overthinker and because I'm such a deep analyzer, I was going crazy. I was like, is it me? Is it you? Like, what do you want from me? Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to self-reflect on? Like, what needs to happen? And I just felt like I was going in circles for a while there. Now, where we stand today, as of October 8th, 2025, I do have a full-time job. I went back to that old part-time job. There is steady income. I have benefits. And I am slowly but surely getting caught up with my bills and trying to rebuild from scratch again. I ultimately care about my life again. And it feels so good to do that. It feels so good to care about my life again and my finances and what I'm doing and how I'm operating. So because I care again, it just kickstarted something in me. Truly, slow motion is better than no motion. It was one small thing at a time. Once I started getting paychecks in, once I cut off the distractions, once I kind of got back to focusing on myself and saying, okay, Vanity, it has been long enough. And again, what's so beautiful is God never put a time limit on it. I truly believe that when you're ready, God will meet you wherever you are at. Something just clicked in my brain one day because we're going years at this point. This year was rough. I think it was September. I think last month was a month where I was like, okay, girl, it's been 9 months. Well, actually, it really started in August because August was my 31st birthday. And I think coming into my 31st, I was like, all right, girl, girl, let's retry doing life with Jesus again.